Look at the Middle East today, and you'll see a region on edge. A single missile launch or border skirmish here rarely stays local. It alters international flight paths, pressures global security, and determines the price of the oil supply that households rely on. But the two nations at the center of this tension actually used to cooperate. Before 1979, Iran and Israel maintained relatively stable, practical relations. That ended in 1979. The Iranian Islamic Revolution swept a new government into power, snapping all diplomatic ties between Tehran and Jerusalem. This new regime established a strict anti-Israel doctrine. They openly opposed the existence of Israel as a state, creating a permanent ideological divide. Because neither side wants the catastrophic casualties of a direct, full-scale invasion, they have adapted. They entered a proxy conflict, fighting indirectly through allied groups rather than facing each other in a formal military confrontation. Tehran projects power across the Middle East by funneling financial, military, and strategic assistance to armed groups in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. In Lebanon, Iran supports Hezbollah. They operate as one of the most powerful non-state military forces in the world, maintaining a massive rocket arsenal aimed directly at the Israeli border. In the Gaza region, Hamas receives similar support, leading to frequent and violent confrontations with Israeli forces. Further south, the Houthi movement in Yemen targets regional infrastructure and critical shipping routes, extending the reach of the conflict to the edge of the Arabian Peninsula. Israel doesn't view these as isolated local disputes. Because these heavily armed organizations operate right on their borders, Israeli intelligence sees a unified existential siege directed by Tehran. While the militias pose a constant threat on the ground, the most significant strategic friction point involves technology, not soldiers. Iran maintains that its nuclear activities are strictly for peaceful energy purposes. However, the United States and Israel assess that the program could eventually produce nuclear weapons. A nuclear-armed Iran would alter the regional balance of power. For Israel, this represents a red line, a development that would fundamentally compromise their national security and deterrence. To prevent this, Israel engages in a shadow war. This involves cyber attacks, covert operations, and airstrikes in Syria to disable Iranian military and nuclear progress. Every covert strike and proxy retaliation is a gamble. One miscalculation in this shadow war could pull the entire region into a direct, full-scale conflict. This shadow war creates economic vulnerabilities at the Strait of Hormuz. A large portion of global oil passes through this waterway daily. If tensions rise, shipping is disrupted, causing an immediate spike in oil prices, affecting international trade worldwide. In the proxy battlegrounds, the cost is measured in human lives. The conflict results in mass displacement and thousands of families forced to flee their homes. Civilian infrastructure often catches the crossfire. Schools, hospitals, and residential areas are routinely damaged, leaving populations without essential resources. Casualties are a hallmark of proxy warfare. As governments move pieces on a strategic map, it is the civilian populations who endure the physical destruction. The future depends on two paths. Successful diplomatic negotiations could reduce nuclear tensions, while a failure to reach an agreement could lead to an expanded multi-nation war. Because the region holds the energy resources that power modern life, international powers monitor the situation closely, intervening to keep the global economy from stalling. The Iran-Israel rivalry has expanded into a network of alliances and military readiness that touches every part of the globe. When these two nations clash, the ripple effects are felt in global energy prices and international security.